The gentle waves caressed the golden shores of Maui, as the sun painted the horizon with brushstrokes of amber and crimson. Paradise, that was what Thomas Davenport and Kai Rivera expected when they arrived for their honeymoon. Just 7 days after exchanging vows, the luxurious oceanfront suite at the Hanalei Resort welcomed them with champagne, rose petals, and breathtaking views of the Pacific Ocean. Their social media showcased beaming smiles, romantic dinners, and tender moments, captured against stunning Hawaiian backdrops. But on the morning of June 15th, the pristine white sheets of room 312 were stained crimson. The paradise that promised endless love became the backdrop for unspeakable violence. Hotel staff discovered Kai Rivera, 32 years old, lying motionless on the bathroom floor, while her husband of merely 1 week paced frantically in the hallway, his story already crumbling under the weight of inconsistencies. Have you ever wondered how someone could travel from the height of marital bliss to the depths of murderous rage in just 7 days? How the same hands that placed a ring on a finger could later take a life? The wedding video showed Thomas crying tears of joy as Kai walked down the aisle. Friends described them as the perfect couple, supportive, communicative, modern. No one saw the fault lines beneath the surface, the tremors that would eventually shatter their union in the most devastating way possible. What transformed this celebration of love into a homicide investigation? The answer lies in the hidden corners of Thomas Davenport's mind, a complex tangle of identity, acceptance, and control that unfolded when the honeymoon phase collided with reality. This story peels back the layers of a seemingly perfect relationship to reveal dangerous secrets about acceptance, identity, and the masks people wear. It examines how quickly paradise can transform into purgatory when love becomes conditional. If you are new here, this is Criminal Mind Cortex, where we examine the darkest chapters of human behavior. Click subscribe to join our community as we navigate the shadowy corridors of this tragic Hawaiian honeymoon gone wrong. Kai Rivera always knew who she was, even when the world insisted otherwise. Born in San Diego to Filipino-American parents, Kai began her transition at 19, supported by a tight-knit circle of friends who became her chosen family when her biological one struggled with acceptance. By 30, she had built a successful career as a graphic designer for a progressive marketing firm, established her authentic identity, and created a life that finally felt like her own. Thomas Davenport walked a different path. Raised in a conservative Boston suburb by traditional parents, he earned his business degree and climbed the corporate ladder at a financial consulting firm. Colleagues described him as methodical, ambitious, and private. Thomas maintained the image of the quintessential young professional: tailored suits, measured speech, and careful adherence to social expectations. They met 3 years ago at a charity gala in Chicago. Thomas attended for networking. Kai was designing promotional materials for the event. Their conversation began with a disagreement about the artwork displayed, but evolved into hours of passionate discussion about everything from Renaissance painters to reality television. I was captivated by her confidence, Thomas later told friends. She challenged me intellectually in ways nobody ever had. During their third date, over dinner at an upscale restaurant, Kai disclosed her transgender identity. She had learned that honesty early in relationships saved pain later. The moment was captured in a text Kai sent to her best friend that night. I told him. He reached across the table, held my hand, and said it changed nothing about how he felt. For 8 months, their relationship appeared perfect. Thomas introduced Kai to colleagues, brought her to family gatherings, and defended her when necessary. Yet subtle cracks formed beneath the surface. Thomas would sometimes grow quiet when strangers complimented Kai, or when waiters referred to them as a beautiful couple. He loves me completely in private, Kai confided to her therapist 6 months into their relationship. But sometimes in public I notice him stiffen when someone pays attention to us. The engagement came at the 1-year mark, a rooftop proposal with a vintage diamond ring. Thomas appeared to have overcome his hesitations, proudly announcing their engagement on social media and planning an elaborate wedding. Family tensions complicated their journey to the altar. While Kai's parents had grown to accept her identity over the years, Thomas faced resistance from his family. His mother refused to attend the engagement party. His father sent a terse email stating he needed time to process this decision. Despite these challenges, Thomas insisted on proceeding with wedding plans. "My family will come around," he assured Kai. "And if they do not, we will create our own family, built on acceptance and love." The wedding took place at an elegant vineyard outside Portland on June 8th. 120 guests witnessed their exchange of vows. Thomas's parents attended, but remained noticeably reserved throughout the celebration. In contrast, Kai's family embraced Thomas warmly, her father giving a tearful toast about finding someone who appreciated his daughter for her beautiful heart. Photos from the reception showed the newlyweds dancing, feeding each other cake, and laughing with friends. Their wedding hashtag trended locally on social media, with guests commenting on their palpable joy and connection. 7 days later, they arrived in Maui for a 2-week honeymoon at one of Hawaii's most exclusive resorts. Their suite overlooked crystal-clear waters. Their itinerary included couples massages, sunset cruises, and private dinners on the beach. No one could have predicted that within days, this romantic getaway would become a crime scene, and Thomas Davenport would transform from devoted husband to murder suspect. The Davenport Riviera honeymoon began with a 5-star welcome at the Ocean Palms Resort on Maui's northwestern shore. Their oceanfront suite featured floor-to-ceiling windows, a private lanai and a butler service. The resort staff greeted them with fragrant lei garlands and chilled champagne upon arrival. "Welcome to paradise, Mr. and Mrs. Davenport," the concierge announced, unwittingly causing the first barely perceptible flinch across Thomas's face, a micro-expression that Kai noticed but dismissed. Their first 3 days followed the carefully curated itinerary Thomas had planned months in advance. They snorkeled in Molokini Crater among vibrant coral reefs and tropical fish. They drove the winding road to Hana, stopping to photograph waterfalls and taste fresh coconut from roadside stands. Each evening concluded with sunset dinners at upscale restaurants, where they sipped 20-year-old whiskey and fed each other decadent desserts. The photos they posted online portrayed flawless happiness. Kai in a flowing sundress against azure waters, Thomas with his arm around her waist as they posed on black sand beaches. Their social media glowed with comments from envious friends, couple goals, and living the dream. Yet between these captured moments, subtle tensions emerged. During breakfast on their 3rd morning, an elderly couple approached their table. "You two make such a beautiful couple," the woman commented warmly. "How long have you been married?" "Just a week," Kai answered, with genuine enthusiasm. "We are newlyweds." Thomas smiled politely but remained silent. Later, in their suite, he questioned Kai about her openness with strangers. "Do we need to tell everyone we just met our personal business?" he asked, while rearranging items in his suitcase. "Could we not just enjoy our privacy?" Kai found his reaction puzzling. They were being friendly, Thomas. That is what people do on vacation. Similar moments accumulated like grains of sand, small, individually insignificant, but gradually building into something substantial. A poolside attendant referred to them as ladies, before quickly correcting himself after noticing Thomas. Rather than laugh off the mistake, Thomas cancelled their pool cabana reservation and insisted they explore a hiking trail instead. During a couple's massage, Thomas requested a last-minute room change when he learned they had been booked with 2 female massage therapists. "I would prefer a male therapist," he informed the spa manager, while Kai waited awkwardly in the relaxation lounge. On their 5th evening, they attended a traditional Hawaiian luau. The celebration featured fire dancers, traditional music, and communal seating at long tables. They were placed beside a boisterous group of college friends, celebrating a graduation. The graduates, slightly intoxicated and exceptionally friendly, insisted on taking group photos with all nearby guests. "You and your wife must join us," one young man called to Thomas. "Everyone in paradise is family tonight." Thomas's jaw tightened. "I think we will finish our meal and return to our room," he replied coldly. "Kai is feeling tired." Though Kai protested that she felt fine, Thomas had already signaled for the check. As they walked along the torch-lit path back to their suite, Kai finally confronted the growing distance between them. "What is happening, Thomas? This is supposed to be our honeymoon, but you seem uncomfortable every time we interact with others." His response, "I just want you all to myself," might have sounded romantic under different circumstances. But the grip of his hand around hers felt less like affection and more like possession. On the morning of their 6th day in Maui, Thomas cancelled their scheduled outrigger canoe experience, without consulting Kai. The concierge later reported overhearing their heated exchange through the partially open door of their suite.
"You made this decision without even asking me," Kai said, her voice rising with frustration. "I have been looking forward to this excursion since we booked our trip."
The guide kept referring to you with feminine pronouns in his confirmation email, Thomas responded. "It makes me uncomfortable how everyone here keeps focusing on you." The concierge discreetly stepped away, but not before hearing Kai reply, "That is literally how I identify, Thomas. Those are my pronouns. What has gotten into you since we arrived here?" Later that afternoon, Kai ventured to the pool alone, while Thomas claimed he needed to handle some work emails. Roman Capulet, a pool attendant, noted in his statement to investigators that Kai appeared distressed as she swam laps for nearly an hour. "She seemed to be working through something difficult," Capulet recalled. "When I brought her a towel, her eyes were red, though she blamed it on the chlorine." Security footage from the resort captured Thomas watching from their balcony, his gaze fixed on Kai and the other guests who interacted with her. When two men complimented her swimming technique and invited her to join their volleyball game, Thomas immediately called her cell phone. According to other guests, Kai excused herself after the call and returned to their suite. That evening, while Thomas showered, Kai made a phone call to her friend Vanessa. The 12-minute conversation, which Kai believed private, was later discovered, recorded on her laptop, due to synchronized accounts. "I do not recognize him anymore, Nessa," Kai whispered. "Ever since we got here, he watches how people look at me. Yesterday, he accused our tour guide of flirting with me. The day before, he questioned whether I had told the hotel about my situation before we arrived." Vanessa asked if Kai felt safe. "Yes, of course," Kai responded quickly. Perhaps too quickly. "He would never hurt me. He is just acting possessive. Maybe the reality of marriage is hitting him differently than expected." Thomas also made calls when Kai was absent, primarily to his college friend Alexander. Resort phone records showed a 23-minute call the same evening. "She keeps drawing attention everywhere we go," Thomas complained according to Alexander's later testimony. "People stare at us. A waiter winked at me yesterday like we shared some secret. I cannot tell if they know she is transgender or if I am just being paranoid." Alexander reportedly advised Thomas to relax and enjoy his honeymoon, suggesting that his insecurities were unfounded. "Nobody cares as much as you think they do, man," he said. "And even if they did notice, who gives a damn? You married her knowing who she is." The following morning, attempting to salvage their honeymoon, Kai suggested they take a private cooking class featuring traditional Hawaiian cuisine. The intimate setting might reduce Thomas's apparent anxiety about public interactions. Initially, the class seemed to help. Chef Nalani Kealoha recalled the couple laughing together as they attempted to fold proper poke wraps and mix tropical cocktails. They appeared to be working through whatever tension existed, she noted. The gentleman relaxed considerably after the first hour. This brief harmony shattered when another participant innocently asked how long they had been together. Before Kai could answer, Thomas interjected sharply, "That is our business." The awkward silence that followed hung heavy in the air. Chef Kealoha, sensing the discomfort, quickly redirected attention to the dessert preparation. This story contains crucial warning signs everyone should recognize. Hit the like button if you are following these red flags, and share your thoughts in the comments below. On June 15th, their 7th night in Hawaii, Thomas made reservations at Kailani, an exclusive cliffside restaurant overlooking the ocean. According to the hostess, Makani Kahale, the couple arrived at 7:30, dressed elegantly, Thomas in a linen suit and Kai in a blue silk dress that complemented her copper highlights. "They requested our most private table," Kahale recalled. The gentleman specified they did not wish to be seated near other guests. Their server, David Nakamura, noted that Thomas ordered for both of them, without consultation, 2 identical meals of seared ahi tuna and a $400 bottle of vintage champagne. Throughout the meal, Nakamura observed minimal conversation between the couple. Thomas frequently scanned the restaurant, appearing hyper-aware of other diners. The tension between them was noticeable. Nakamura stated in his police interview, "She attempted conversation several times, but he responded with one-word answers, while constantly watching other tables. The breaking point came during dessert. According to witnesses, a well-meaning elderly tourist stopped by their table and commented on what a handsome couple they made, adding that they reminded her of her grandson and his wife. Thomas abruptly stood up, threw several $100 bills on the table, and insisted they leave immediately. Security cameras captured them walking through the parking lot at 9:15, with Thomas gripping Kai's arm tightly enough that she pulled away once before reluctantly following him to their rental car. The drive back to the resort took approximately 20 minutes. Valet attendant Jessie Kamaka recalled that Thomas appeared agitated upon arrival, while Kai seemed to be quietly crying. She mouthed "thank you" when I opened her door, Kamaka told investigators. He grabbed her hand immediately and pulled her toward the elevators. Resort keycard records showed them entering their suite at 9:52. 3 adjacent rooms reported hearing raised voices within 15 minutes of their return. I heard a man shouting about deception and public humiliation, reported occupants of the neighboring suite. A woman was crying, saying something like, "This is who I have always been." At 10:40, a heavy thud prompted one neighbor to call the front desk, expressing concern. Security officer Alana Kaur conducted a welfare check, knocking on the Devonport's door at 10:45. Thomas answered, appearing composed but flushed. He assured Kiyue everything was fine, explaining they had accidentally knocked over a lamp during an enthusiastic rearrangement of furniture. Kiyue noted Thomas blocked the doorway, preventing any view into the suite. With no legal cause to enter, she left but noted the incident in her log. Hotel security footage showed no one entered or exited the room until 6:27 the next morning, when Thomas departed alone, returning 38 minutes later with coffee and pastries from the resort cafe. At 11:15, housekeeping supervisor Leilani Akana knocked for routine service, receiving no response, and noting the "Do Not Disturb" sign had been removed. She used her master key to enter. Akana discovered Kai in the bathroom, unresponsive. The official report indicated multiple blunt force trauma injuries to her head and evidence of manual strangulation. The bathroom showed signs of meticulous cleaning, with damp towels piled in the corner. The bedroom appeared pristine, unnaturally so for a week-long stay. Thomas, sitting on the balcony drinking coffee when Akana screamed, reacted with what investigators later described as rehearsed shock. He rushed to the bathroom, crying out, "My wife fell in the shower. I told her these tiles were dangerous." Medical examiner Dr. Kia Loha Wong determined Kai had been deceased for approximately 8 to 10 hours before discovery, placing time of death between 1 and 3 in the morning, contradicting Thomas's claim that the accident happened while he was getting breakfast. Resort cameras captured Thomas's movements that morning, his early departure, his methodical gathering of breakfast items, while chatting casually with cafe staff, and his careful selection of flowers from the lobby arrangement on his return, behaviors inconsistent with someone unaware of tragedy in their suite. Maui Police Department responded within 18 minutes of housekeeping supervisor Leilani Akana's emergency call. Detective Kokoa Maho arrived with a 4-person forensic team, immediately securing the luxury suite as a potential homicide scene, despite Thomas's continued insistence that Kai had suffered an accidental fall. Mr. Davenport appeared composed for someone who had supposedly just found his wife deceased, Detective Maho noted in his initial report. His emotional responses seemed to come and go, intensifying when directly observed by officers. The forensic examination quickly revealed inconsistencies in Thomas's account. Bathroom tiles showed evidence of thorough cleaning with resort towels, yet water splatter patterns on the ceiling remained untouched. These patterns indicated impact occurring while Kai was already on the ground, not from a fall. The distribution of injuries could not have resulted from a single fall, medical examiner Dr. Wong concluded after preliminary examination. The victim sustained defensive wounds on her forearms and hands, indicating she attempted to protect herself during an assault. Thomas claimed he had slept through the night, awakening to find Kai already showering. Yet hotel records showed multiple electronic disturbances overnight. The television turned on at 12:26, room service was called at 1:15, but cancelled immediately, and the balcony door activated its security sensor 4 times between 2 and 4 in the morning. Resort employees provided crucial testimony. Night shift front desk clerk, male Kaneko, recalled Thomas approaching her at approximately 2:40, requesting extra towels. He said they had spilled red wine, Kaneko testified. He declined housekeeping assistance, insisting on cleaning it himself. He appeared unusually alert for that hour, his clothes completely unwrinkled as if freshly changed. Surveillance footage contradicted numerous elements of Thomas's timeline. Cameras showed him disposing of a resort shopping bag in an outdoor trash receptacle during his morning coffee run, a bag later recovered containing blood-stained clothing. 2 days into the investigation, Detective Maho conducted a 4-hour interview with Thomas. Transcripts reveal a gradual breakdown of his account under methodical questioning. "Your wife did not fall in the shower, did she, Mr. Davenport?" Detective Maho asked after presenting the accumulated evidence. Thomas maintained his innocence for another 70 minutes before his narrative began unraveling. "You do not understand what it has been like," he eventually said. "Everyone looking at us, judging me, laughing behind my back." When pressed to clarify, Thomas described increasing paranoia about public perception of their relationship. "That night at dinner, those people recognized what she was. I could see it in their eyes. They were mocking me." The final confession came after Detective Maho presented text messages recovered from Kai's phone, messages to her friend expressing concern about Thomas's escalating behavior and her consideration of an early return home. "She tricked me," Thomas stated flatly, emotion draining from his voice. "I built my life around someone who made me a laughingstock. She knew people could tell. She enjoyed the attention while I suffered the consequences." Forensic evidence aligned with Thomas's eventual confession, an argument escalating to physical confrontation, multiple impacts against bathroom fixtures, manual strangulation, and hours spent attempting to clean the scene and construct an alternative explanation. Dr. Mariana Kelsey, forensic psychologist specializing in intimate partner homicide, identified key psychological factors in Thomas Davenport's case that illuminate the tragedy beyond individual circumstances. "What we observe here represents a lethal convergence of internalized prejudice, fragile masculinity, and identity threat," explained Dr. Kelsey. Davenport displayed classic signs of psychological splitting, accepting his wife's transgender identity in private spaces, where his own social standing remained unchallenged, while experiencing acute distress when perceiving public scrutiny. The investigation uncovered Thomas's deleted search history from the weeks preceding their wedding, revealing troubling patterns. "How to tell if people know my partner is transgender," masculinity threatened by wife's past, and feeling deceived despite disclosure. His perception of judgment from others manifested as projection, noted Dr. Raymond Fujimoto, consulting psychologist for the prosecution. No evidence suggested actual negative reactions from others. Rather, Thomas projected his own unresolved anxieties onto innocent bystanders, interpreting neutral or positive interactions as threatening. This pattern appears in approximately 28% of intimate partner homicides involving transgender victims, according to research from the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. The perpetrator's fear of judgment often escalates during major relationship transitions, like marriage or public commitment, when social visibility increases. "The honeymoon location exacerbated these dynamics," Dr. Kelsey observed. Hawaii represented not just a vacation but an exposed stage where Thomas perceived constant evaluation from strangers. The physical isolation of a resort paradoxically increased his psychological pressure, removing familiar support systems and focusing his anxiety entirely on their relationship. Thomas exhibited what psychologists term narcissistic injury, a profound threat to self-image triggering rage. His perception of being tricked, despite Kai's early disclosure, revealed not factual deception, but his inability to integrate her identity into his self-concept when faced with imagined public scrutiny. Forensic analysis of his digital communications revealed escalating control behaviors in the months before marriage, monitoring Kai's social media interactions, questioning her friendships, and expressing discomfort when she received compliments. These controlling behaviors often precede violence, Dr. Fujimoto explained. The perpetrator attempts to manage their anxiety through increasing domination, creating a dangerous progression when control tactics fail. Understanding these psychological patterns could save lives. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell to learn more about recognizing dangerous relationship dynamics. The Maui County prosecutor filed charges against Thomas Davenport 20 days after Kai's death. The indictment included first-degree murder, tampering with evidence, and obstruction of justice. The prosecution also sought enhanced penalties under Hawaii's hate crime statutes, a legal first for the state in a case involving a transgender victim. The evidence indicates this crime was motivated by the victim's gender identity, stated lead prosecutor Elena Nakamura during the arraignment. Mr. Davenport's own statements demonstrate his actions stemmed from prejudice against his wife's transgender status. The trial began 8 months later, drawing national media attention. Legal analysts noted the case highlighted critical gaps in hate crime legislation, as many jurisdictions still lacked explicit protections for transgender individuals. Defense attorney Gregory Winters attempted to build a temporary insanity defense, claiming extreme emotional disturbance triggered by alleged deception. This strategy backfired when recordings of Thomas's proposal surfaced, in which he explicitly acknowledged and accepted Kai's transgender identity.
"You are the woman I choose, exactly as you are," Thomas had stated on video, devastating evidence against claims of deception or surprise.
Key testimony came from Dr. Natalie Fong, the relationship counselor the couple had seen 3 times before their wedding. With the court lifting confidential EG to homicide investigation, Dr. Fong revealed Thomas had expressed concerns about public perception, but had worked through them in therapy. He indicated full acceptance in our final session, Dr. Fong testified. He stated his love transcended societal judgment. After 14 days of testimony and 9 hours of deliberation, the jury returned a unanimous guilty verdict on all counts. Judge Michael Kanahele sentenced Thomas to life imprisonment without possibility of parole, plus 20 additional years for the remaining charges. This court recognizes this crime as an act of hate disguised as love, Judge Kanahele stated during sentencing. The defendant's actions represent the most dangerous form of prejudice, one that feigns acceptance while harboring deadly rejection. The verdict established important legal precedent in Hawaii for prosecuting crimes against transgender individuals, leading to expanded training for law enforcement statewide on recognizing and addressing anti-transgender violence. In the wake of the verdict, Kai Rivera's family transformed their grief into purposeful advocacy. Her parents, Miguel and Lucia Rivera, established the Kai Rivera Foundation to combat intimate partner violence against transgender individuals. "Our daughter lived authentically and loved openly," Miguel Rivera stated at the foundation launch. "We will honor her memory by protecting others from similar fates." The foundation partnered with Hawaiian LGBTQ+ organizations to develop training programs for hospitality workers, helping them recognize warning signs of intimate partner violence. Within 18 months, these programs became mandatory for resort staff across 3 Hawaiian islands. Communities responded differently to the tragedy. In Hawaii, annual remembrance ceremonies began on Maui beaches, with hundreds gathering to release floating lanterns, symbolizing lives lost to prejudice. The Ocean Palms Resort converted Suite 312 into a resource center for domestic violence prevention. In Boston, where Thomas had built his career, initial reactions revealed troubling divides. Former colleagues expressed shock and disbelief, some even suggesting external factors must have influenced his actions. This victim-blaming narrative prompted Boston LGBTQ+ advocates to launch awareness campaigns addressing the normalization of transphobic violence. Media coverage evolved significantly following the case. Journalism guidelines developed by transgender rights organizations were adopted by major news networks, emphasizing respectful reporting practices and appropriate terminology when covering stories involving transgender individuals. Perhaps most significantly, legislators in 12 states introduced bills strengthening protections for transgender people against hate crimes and intimate partner violence. Hawaii passed Kai's law requiring specialized training for law enforcement, responding to domestic incidents involving transgender individuals. The tragedy also sparked conversations within marriage counseling communities. The American Association of Marriage and Family Therapists developed new protocols for counselors working with couples where gender identity might introduce complex dynamics, emphasizing thorough evaluation of acceptance versus performative tolerance. The tragedy of Kai Rivera reveals critical warning signs that, in retrospect, foretold danger. The progression from control to violence followed a recognizable pattern. Thomas's increasing isolation of Kai, his heightened anxiety in public settings, his projection of judgment onto innocent bystanders, and his growing resentment of her identity. For those in relationships where acceptance feels conditional, or where control disguises itself as protection, resources exist. The National Domestic Violence Hotline provides confidential support, 24 hours daily. Organizations like Forge offer transgender-specific safety planning. Remember that love without full acceptance creates dangerous fault lines in relationships. This case demonstrates how societal prejudice can infiltrate intimate relationships, creating deadly pressure points. Authentic acceptance cannot coexist with shame or fear of judgment. True love celebrates identity rather than tolerating it conditionally. Mental health professionals emphasize 5 crucial indicators of potential relationship danger: isolation from support systems, monitoring of communications, controlling behaviors justified as care, fluctuating between private acceptance and public discomfort, and escalating reactions to perceived social judgment. Kai lived courageously, embracing her authentic self despite societal challenges. We honor her memory not through pity, but through promoting greater understanding and acceptance of transgendered individuals in all aspects of society. This tragic story reminds us to remain vigilant about the people in our lives. If this story impacted you, please leave a comment sharing your thoughts. And if you have not already, subscribe to Criminal Mind Cortex for more stories that educate and enlighten.